Um, those are important charts that you just presented. Could you make copies so that we could look at them here? And
Let's have
that
copies
shouldn't
made so
shouldn't
we
be
can
that
pass out.
difficult for the staff.
Absolutely. So we can do it now. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Costa. We will do that. Mr. Keating.
I don't know if this is working. Hello? No, it's not working here. How's this? Oh, good.
There you
All right, there we go. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for holding this important hearing today, and I want to thank our witnesses for their participation in today's hearing. More than 75 years ago, in the wake of World War II, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization was established to forge a safe, secure, and prosperous transatlantic alliance. From its inception, NATO's founding charter and its Article 5 principle of collective defense have been the underpinning of our national security and that of our European partners as well. We saw this in action after 9/11, when our allies sacrificed treasure and blood in our defense. NATO's necessity came into full view in February of 2022 when the Russian Federation initiated a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Since the invasion, NATO has marshaled billions of dollars in military support to the Ukrainians who have defended the front line of freedom at great human cost. During the 2024 Washington summit, support for Ukraine within NATO was clear as allies agreed that Russia remains the most significant and direct threat to the security of the alliance. Just 1 year later, the Russian threat to NATO remains all the pressing and all the more real. At that summit, NATO allies also agreed to increase defense spending to build on the alliance deterrence. Countries like Poland and the Baltic states have well exceeded the 2% mark, while others, like the United Kingdom and Germany, have committed to and passed legislation to ensure their defense spending increases in accordance with the alliance's requirements. Meanwhile, other countries have lagged behind the 2% mark, and it's absolutely imperative that all allies commit to adequate defense spending levels at the upcoming NATO summit in Hague. Unfortunately, NATO continues to face serious threats to its security. The Trump administration's policy towards NATO has been inconsistent and chaotic. It's no wonder that the alliance is just confused about where Trump and his cabinet are on these critical issues. On the war in Ukraine, Trump's Secretary of State has said Russia started it. Meanwhile, President Trump said Ukraine started it. Trump's Secretary of the Treasury says Putin is a war criminal. Trump's chief negotiator for Russia, Steve Witkoff, said Putin is not a bad guy and that he's trustworthy. Secretary of State often said Putin was a war criminal. When I questioned him 2 weeks ago, Secretary of State wouldn't say that. At the United Nations, the Trump administration abandoned our allies on a resolution siding with Russia, Belarus, and North Korea. It's no wonder Trump's ambassador to Ukraine, Bridget Brink, resigned, citing policy disagreements. As we approach the 76th NATO summit in The Hague later this month, the Trump administration must take advantage of the opportunity and set the record straight. First, the administration must not step back from its leadership role in NATO. Reported proposals to abandon the Supreme Allied Commander for their European position or reduce the focus that's there in the force posture in Europe, because any of this will do nothing but harm the deterrent effect of our alliance. Second, the Trump administration must continue to encourage allies and partners to spend more on defense. I know this sentiment is bipartisan, and I want to thank Secretary General Rutafa, as well as former Secretary General Stoltenberg and Ambassador Smith for your work on doing this in the previous administration. Third, the Trump administration must make clear at the upcoming NATO summit that the United States and the entire alliance is prepared to increase the cost on Russia for its ongoing war of aggression in Ukraine. This must start with acknowledging the facts on the ground, something that the Secretary of State was unable to do when he testified before this committee last month. This includes telling the truth. Russia is the aggressive state. Vladimir Putin is a war criminal who's carried out atrocious crimes in Ukraine, including the kidnapping of 20,000 children. And the United States must hold the Kremlin accountable for this war and the horrific crimes Russia has committed in its wake. Anything less represents a failure of American leadership and an inability to uphold key American values. Finally, the Trump administration must build upon the prior administration's effort to expand NATO's relationship with the Indo-Pacific countries. Russia's war in Ukraine has a direct implication on the Taiwan Strait, and ensuring robust relationships with our Indo-Pacific allies is vitally important for this transatlantic relationship. I want to thank our witnesses again for being here, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Other members of the committee are reminded that opening statements may be submitted for the record. We are pleased to have a distinguished panel of witnesses before us today on this important topic. I was extremely impressed with the written testimony of all three. I'd like to start and introduce Rear Admiral Retired Mark Montgomery, CCTI Senior Director and Senior Fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Sir, you are recognized for 5 minutes.
Chairman